Welcome to our webinar. My name is Amy Rifat, and I am a private sector specialist with IFC's employability program, Retail, and I will be moderating this session. Today, we have an interesting topic for you: how to build an entrepreneurship center and how to use that to develop soft skills of your students. Now, entrepreneurship centers are usually seen as non-applicable to the majority of students who aspire to get a job, as opposed to those intent on setting up their own company. However, the skills that can be learned through this kind of endeavor are valuable for any kind of work that a graduate wishes to undertake later on. And we know that is what you, the audience, care about the most: empowering your students with the skills they need to succeed at whatever they want to do in life. We also know that many of you have set up entrepreneurship centers at different degrees of maturity, while some of you are still thinking about it. This webinar applies to you no matter where you are on your journey, as we will be talking about how to set up an entrepreneurship center, how to manage it, what kind of activities an entrepreneurship center engages in, and how to ensure that the soft skills or employability skills more generally are incorporated all the way through. We have a great panel of speakers for you from different continents to show you diverse experiences across the globe. I am delighted to introduce them. We have Daniela Duran. She manages the Entrepreneurship Hub at Utah University in Mexico. She has international experience in diverse fields such as product marketing, sales, strategy, and organization development. Daniela's focus is tech-powered solutions to help people make meaningful connections in their educational environments. We have Hela Barakat. She is the director of the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the American University in Cairo, Egypt. She has worked across the hotel and banking sectors and founded her own business, ArabiaWare, in the retail sector. And Hela is also a graduate of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Women Entrepreneurial and Leadership Program, and was selected and attended the President Obama Entrepreneurship Summit. Then we have Smira Million. She is the executive director of the Arthur Blank Center for Entrepreneurship at Babson College in the US. She's an experienced CEO, investor, and advocate for advancing the entrepreneurial ecosystem. She spent 30 years as a successful operator of luxury hotels, spas, and health clubs, and as CEO of Millennium Partners Sports Club Management. Smira was named to the top 100 women-led businesses in Massachusetts. So welcome to you all. I know you, the audience, are going to have questions for our panelists. So we have a Q&A session at the end as usual. And I encourage you to start sending in your questions in the Q&A box during the session as they come along. So let's start by digging deeper into what exactly, first of all, an entrepreneurship center does. And I'd like to start with you, Hel, on this. What exactly do you do as a center at AUC? And maybe you could break it down into categories to make it easier to process.
First of all, thank you, Amy, for inviting me to sit for this webinar. And I'm delighted to speak about the AUC CEI. So at the center at AUC, we have through research and digging deep in the markets and what was needed either within our university or beyond to the larger community in Egypt, we have 4 directions that we focus on. So we have a focus of youth entrepreneurship activities. So we design special programs that enable youth and mainly undergraduate students to learn more about entrepreneurship, what it is, how they can, if they have an idea, how to take it to further level, how can they think about an idea. We do this through different activities like competitions, hackathons. We do like an annual entrepreneurship summit and so on. Our other focus is gender. So we have a special gender theme that works specifically to develop programs that fits for Egyptian women entrepreneurs who are either have their own startups and they are having challenges. So we provide them with training and mentoring to support their journey, or they just have an idea and don't know how to take it to the second step. We also help women, especially to raise funds for their businesses. Our third focus is mentorship. So after we did like a market mapping, we realized that there is a big gap on mentorship provided services to startups and founders in Egypt. The term was widely misused. So we try to develop a special program, and actually now we became a sister program for the MIT VMS. The MIT Venture Mentoring Services is a special mentoring framework that's adapted by MIT for many, many years. And we adapt that framework in the Egyptian market. It's a very unique framework where founders and ventures don't sit with one mentor on the same session, but they sit from 2 to 4 mentors at the same time. So as if I'm availing an advisory board to that venture. And we have piloted the program since early January this year, and it has been, we try to adapt it to our culture a bit. The feedback and the surveys that were conducted from the ventures and the mentors who are volunteering on this program has been very, very positive. So our fourth focus is SMEs. So we found like SMEs are the real heart of the Egyptian economy, and we found a gap in the market also for reliable institutions that provide services and support to the SMEs in Egypt. So we have been working for the past year to support business development service centers in order to provide better service to SMEs in different sectors. So that's Kida in brief, the 4 main directions that we are focusing on.
Okay, sounds like a lot of amazing work. And I was also very happy to hear about your focus on gender, because I was going to ask about that. So that sounds amazing. Thank you, Hela, for sharing. So after hearing about what's going on in Egypt, let's cross the Atlantic to hear about Babson College in the US. Smaira, could you tell us what you do at the Entrepreneurship Center at Babson College? And again, if you could break it down into categories, because we know you have quite a unique model whereby all students are expected to set up a business.
Yes, that's exactly right, Amy. Because we're a business school, everyone who enrolls at Babson actually starts a business, ramps up the business, and then closes down the business within their first year of attending. So all of our students have that experience. And we in the Entrepreneurship Center are the partners to what happens in the classroom. And we have 3 main categories. The first one is to help our students really ideate and incubate their ventures. We provide them with space to do that. We provide them with mentorship, workshops, anything that they need to expand their resource pool so that they can really take their ideas and run with it. Once they've kind of had some traction, then we move to the acceleration phase, where we have specialty acceleration groups, fast track programs, summer venture programs, where we take the best of the best ideas and we really have a concentrated time where we bring in experts and we help them take their business to market, help them understand the research that's involved, dealing with the customers, the financial aspects, etc. And then the third part of what we do in the Entrepreneurship Center really revolves around being a leader, thought leader for entrepreneurship. So we are the US authors of the GEM report, which is the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor. Our faculty write that report, and we actually produce it with our college marketing associates. We also put on the largest entrepreneurship conference, which is the Babson College Research Conference, Entrepreneurship Research Conference, which is actually going on right now in Tennessee. And we have also a policy institute where we look at the specifics of how government policy actually plays a role in either enhancing or pulling back on people to have the opportunity to be entrepreneurs. So those are the main things that we do. And we're very lucky. We have almost 50 faculty members that are concentrating on entrepreneurship, and we are all housed pretty much in the same physical space, which gives us great access to expertise in addition to the greater ecosystem that we bring into the center.
Wow, yeah, it sounds like you have a really hands-on approach there as well. And it's interesting to hear that both you and Helo talking about reaching beyond your universities, whether it's through policy in your case, Myra, or SMEs in your case, Hela, how you move beyond the university. That's really great to hear. And Smira, what's your philosophy behind this approach where setting up a business is something that all students have to do? Because some students are not going to end up setting up a business. They will want to go get a job. So what's the philosophy behind this?
So we take a look at entrepreneurship in two ways. One is the mindset of an entrepreneur, which we feel is applicable in every single career, every single opportunity that you have in life, even in dealing with one's family. It's all about how you think about, growth and dealing with issues or problems or whatever it is. So we teach the mindset, very hands-on. And then there's the methodology piece, which can be applied either to a new venture or going into a corporation, whatever it is. So we're very keen on looking at entrepreneurship as really the tool that can be used across the board. It is a great way for one to have a career, for economic engine in a country, whatever it may be, but it really, the core of it is this mindset and methodology that we teach.
Right, yes. So yeah, it's good for everyone to get those skills.
Absolutely.
We definitely believe in that. And can you tell us, are you seeing a gender divide when it comes to actually setting up a business, and how are you tackling that at Babson?
We have, over the years, the gender divide, that gap has actually closed. It used to be quite broad, and we have done some things to try to help. We didn't really see many of our women participating in our programs, our competitions and things like that. They were maybe reticent to do it. So we set up the Center for Women's Entrepreneurial Leadership. So we have a separate center that really helps women think about the gendered issues involved in raising money and all of that. So I think, and that center is almost 23 years old now. So we've over time really closed that gap. But we continue to work at it. We continue to be very purposeful about how we role model. So when we select mentors, when we select people to speak on a panel, when we bring investors in, we make sure that we present a very diversified, group so that people can immediately find themselves in a role model. If we brought in all men, it would be very difficult for our women to see themselves in that. So we're very purposeful about the way that we do this.
Yes, that's an important point. Yeah, and they need role models. It's great to hear that both you and Hela at AUC are focused on this gender important aspect. Now let's move over to another continent, Latin America. Daniela. You also have a different approach. As Utah University, you are a fully online institution. So your entrepreneurship center is a fully online one. Could you talk us through the activities that you conduct? And if you're coming up across any challenges, being an online center?
Of course, thank you very much for having me here. One thing that I wanted to be precise about is I am working as a lead of the mentorship role, like the person leading this amazing project are Gabriela Capurro and Alejandro Rodriguez, who I'm really proud to be representing. But I wanted to be precise because I don't want to take ownership of a job that I haven't been completely doing. So that being said, I think we are super proud in Nutel of the way that we have been conducting things, because our DNA is completely online. We were born with this idea of having to serve people that were not connected, and that commuting to getting to the university or having to go to school, or maybe doing work and school was going to be highly complicated if they were having to physically attend to a place. So we wanted to dissolve all barriers that will create friction for our students to level up their education. And if you've been to Latin America, anyone that's with us here today will know that commuting can be a big issue. You can take up 3 hours easily for going to home to work, for home to school. So how do we make that time more productive? It will be going fully online. And this mission was also to captivate and to foster the underserved people and the underserved markets. And I think that approach has given us a more regional scope, which is amazing, because we don't have people that have to come to our school from different places of a specific country, as you will get in Mexico. We have a lot of we used to have a lot of centralized universities. I would say the same for Latin America. Most countries will have like the biggest universities in specific capital cities, and then everyone will have to move their whole life to that space just to get proper education. So in Nutel, what we have is you can do it from anywhere you are, and that has given us also a regional cultural background for our students. They can go to class with people from a different country, but that shares the same problems and the same issues, like regional issues that we have in Latin America. And that has given us an amazing scope and an amazing understanding of problems that are typical from our region, but that are handled in different ways. And I think that's super interesting about us as university. And for the programs that we have, we started with 2 main programs: the acceleration programs, which is when we take a startup that is in its initial stages and it needs to speed up, and we foster and we help locating the students and giving them like the tools that they need. Then the hackathon, which is intended to reduce the gaps and the issues that we have in our region, inclusion, people that has special needs for going to work, or that they are disadvantaged in some way. Then we added 2 new programs this year, because we are only 1 year old. We're about to get into our 2nd year. And the first one is the acceleration launch, which is an intensive training for those specific or super early stages, maybe seed stages, and they need to go out and launch. And then, yeah, I agree with what Smaira said. Having people that inspire you is super important. So we also have included a program like that in Nutel. And we get a co-creation of ideas that work with people that are mentoring this program. So that's what we do.
No, it's really inspiring to hear how this your fully online institution is serving underserved communities, and that you were able to turn this challenge into a strength, actually, to reach these people. I'd imagine also that the online service positively impacts women. And same question I asked Myra: do you see a gender divide, and does your online system help bridge this divide?
Yeah, I think especially in Latin America, having culturally, family is super important, and that's something that you can see it everywhere. And maybe going through motherhood can be scary for people in our region, because it can mean that you have to make a pause in your education, make a pause in your career. However, being completely online, and we understand and we know that our region needs a lot of support, and that's why we focus on creating communities within the university to help people go and support each other peer to peer, and also from mentors to students, or mentors to entrepreneurs. So we do have a divide, but I think that divide is, as Myra said, the gap is closing, and we do impulse women, and we encourage them to work and in their potentials and in their talents, so they're not left behind and they're not left alone. And I'm proud to say that in most of the teams that I've worked in UTL, we have a woman that's a leader. The great example is this entrepreneurial hub, which the director of this project is the main director of this whole project is a woman. And then we have Alejandro, who's below her, but most of the people that I've been seen working on these kind of projects are they have women leadership. So that's also inspiring, because we're being congruent with it. They can see it.
Yes, the importance of role models again. Okay, thank you, Daniela, for sharing that. Now I'd like to move to our important question on soft skills / employability skills. Hela, can I come to you on this? How do you incorporate soft skills or employability skills into the program? Things like collaboration, communication, problem solving, thinking outside the box. Is this something the mentors focus on in a formal way? How do you go about doing it?
So at the center, when we usually introduce or work on a concept note for a program, competition, any new intervention, we very much look into soft skills, because undergraduate students, and if we are talking now about the programs that we focus on undergraduate students, there are lots of soft skills are needed to be built in them before we take them onto the entrepreneurial journey. But for example, each year we host an entrepreneurship summit for undergraduate students, and the initial workshops are given and usually covering soft skills like design thinking, communication, networking, creative thinking, team working. We provide them with that base before we step into the entrepreneurship workshops. So this is how we implement it directly. We also implement some soft skills indirectly through collaboration with international universities. So, for example, we have done an entrepreneur in resident program with Lancaster Management School, where they have a mentor from Lancaster. He's an entrepreneur who used to have regular, of course, virtual meetings with students at IFC, and that provide them with like international exposure, how to sit with the mentor, how to talk with the mentor, how to reflect. Also, we host a number of international competitions. So different teams from all over the world, they engage together to provide, to establish teams that comes into provide their solutions to any challenges together. But interacting with different students from different culture and different backgrounds indirectly provide them with lots of skills learning as well. When we come to gender, after many years of providing trainings and incubation and mentoring, we realized that women in Egypt, especially in underprivileged areas, they need to focus more on gender awareness. Okay, we need to work with them on raising their confidence. When they are out there, they're pitching their ideas, they don't have enough confidence in themselves. we also incorporated at the beginning of any program gender awareness workshop, self-realization, or like a bunch of soft skills trainings and sessions that we provide to women who afterward enrolls in our program.
Okay, so that's interesting. A lot of the time, so what I'm hearing is you come at it from different angles, and a lot of it starts before you give specific workshops before they even start engaging on your program. Okay, that's really a really good tip to hear. Thank you, Hela, for that. And Smira, could you also tell us about Babson College and how you incorporate these skills? Because I know you're not using that term anymore, and it would be great to hear about your how you're doing it and your philosophy and how you see it.
Yes. So in addition to everything that Hala mentioned, which is very much in line with what we do, we have a slightly different perspective. We think of these skills as a leadership continuum. So we try not to bifurcate one versus the other, soft skills, hard skills, whatever you want to call it, because you start to get into gendered nuances that one is more important, or one is better, or one is easier, or one comes more easily to female identifying versus male identifying. So in an effort to really think about leadership as a non-gendered thing, you know, so we have to kind of look at it in a holistic way. We say you have your IQ, right? Your intelligence. You also have your EQ, your emotional intelligence. And we really work with our students to figure out how to use both sides of that, how to identify their strengths and understand that some of them, and you need all of them, are on the continuum. And we do all the things that Hala mentioned, which is we do self-efficacy, we have small groups, we teach them and about all kinds of ways to collaborate and work together. It's all part of the evaluation that professors look at. So it's incorporated rather than called out specifically as a soft skill. It's incorporated in the way that they work and the outcomes that we achieve and expect.
Right, yeah, and it's true, because they'll need these kinds of skills as much as any other skill to become a well-rounded person and to be able to perform any job. So that's good. And could you go into a bit more detail about how you teach these skills?
Sure. So most of it comes with workshops that we do, anything from learning how to identify your strengths. So we have something called the reflected best self exercise, where we actually get data from people that say, this is how I experienced you at your best self. It really helps people identify their qualities and the things that they do very well. And many times things like collaboration, cooperation, you know, empathy, things like that seem to come out. But when they see it as data, then they say, oh, okay, that's something that I can use and I can really be proud of. And we teach them then how to use that in a group. And if they're missing something, if the group is missing something, how to potentially find the missing piece and hire for that. Again, always looking at holistically how we're forming a group, how you're getting your leadership skills. They take self-efficacy tests where they see how they're measuring at the beginning, how they measure at the end of the program. All of that is part of what we do in the classroom.
Okay, that's interesting stuff there, yeah. And I really like the part on peer. How do your peers see you? That's really going to help you. And is the activity of the center integrated with the academic activities?
So we definitely try to dovetail where we can, but I would say they run more parallel than fully, completely integrated, meaning there is the academic track. We know exactly when things are happening. So for example, in the classroom, when our first year students are preparing their first rocket pitch, we're doing rocket pitch training and rocket pitch competitions. Well, they're not really competitions, they're really more feedback sessions, but we do them at the same time. And then the professors will say, okay, please go to these sessions so that you can see literally dozens and dozens of other people doing it, and maybe write a reflection. What did you like? What did they see? What did they do? And then they bring that back into the classroom to be evaluated or discussed. So that's how we weave it together. So we try to dovetail it, but they kind of run together. The piece where it's really integrated is, as I mentioned earlier, the faculty, right? So we're with the faculty. So there's a lot of opportunity for our faculty to be our mentors or to lead workshops. And so that's where they know what they're teaching in the classroom, and they bring that into the workshops and the panel discussions, etc.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So where the interacting with professors, very important, and location of the center, as you said, it's very, very close. Okay. Good tips for anybody that's thinking about setting up their new entrepreneurship center. Now let's go a bit deeper into that, how to set up an entrepreneurship center and staffing it. And on that, I'll come to you, Daniela. You are still a very young entrepreneurship center, so it would be great to hear how you started it, how it evolved and continues to evolve. Like, what was the starting point?
Of course, I think one of the main concerns of a university or a higher education institution is, how do I fit an entrepreneurial center into our roadmap or the university strategy? And I think, especially in Latin America, we are a region that it's very entrepreneurial. People go to school or go to work and they are already trying to set up their own thing, is characteristic of our region. And so what we did is that in the beginning, we were just keen to listen what was going on with our students. And we were looking at what was needed. At some point, we were having people that they were only going into understanding their super specific needs, and see if we can find patterns and see how could we double down on helping them. So we started with partnerships, with mentors, and with creating this, as I said, peer-to-peer, incentivizing the peer-to-peer support. And another thing that is characteristic of our university is that we take students that are usually on a later stage in their life. So they probably have work experience, they have worked for a company. They come to the university to formalize and to level up their skills so they can do better in the work that they're already performing, or because they have a business and they want to scale it or grow it. So in this discovery phase, we learned a lot about the people that were already in the university, and maybe also the people that we could attract that were interested in growing up, not just a person and a professional, but also as an entrepreneur. So last year, when we had our first bootcamp, our first hackathon, we had like this overwhelming, nice and positive outcome of getting a lot of people interested and also signing into the program. They had this, it was focused on inclusion, and we had these amazing projects that were about allowing people to find, disabled people finding a specific market space for them, or maybe just approaching services to people that were blocked because of specific regional situations. They just do it online, so they jump that stage. So yeah, that was the super initial stages. What we also did, that is, I think it's a hack that everyone should try to get, is partner up. Find people that will come up and subsidize the things that you don't have built already, and see how you can help them incubate and launch. Like, if you have mentors that come with their expertise and they can also grow their scope and grow their understanding, because they're constantly learning with people, I think that's crucial. And the final two things that I think have been super successful in our strategy as growing is community. There are so many people willing to connect, to understand, to cooperate, having these communities, some people have more expertise and more skills and experience in one area of what is needed for our community, and some other will complement that. And just connect people, because you in a university like ours that is regional, we have a lot of people that are naturally disconnected. So we find common interest in the way that they can collaborate, and we just try to put them together or bring them together. And I think the final one is has been learning as we go. We have been taking the things that work, and we have been investing more time and effort on those things that are already working. And we have been also trying to understand the things that didn't work because we didn't do the best execution, or maybe because our people, they just don't see any value in it.
Okay, so those are good tips, Daniela. So starting small, and I like that, and learning as you go, because I think many institutions think you need this big, massive business plan and know exactly what you're going to do and have all the staff ready. But actually, you can start small and learn, and then move that way and utilize everyone in your community. You don't have to do it alone. As you said, some people are willing to subsidize or offer their services. Okay, those are great tips, I think, for the people in the audience. And just to get an idea of staffing numbers and team members, how many staff members do you have, and what role do they play?
Okay, so we have 3 main people, which are the core of this project, which is Gabriela Capurro, who oversees this project. Then we have Alejandro Rodriguez, who's our lead in this whole project. And then we also have Nardenia, who's helping us with all of these community part, and she's the glue that's putting everything together. I come and help in the mentorship programs and sourcing mentors, and more in a consultancy role. And we also have shared services within the university that we could at some points just reach out to them and ask for help. But the core has been done by these 3 people. And we also have like units within the university, like UCAM, that sometimes comes and help. They are focused on working with boot camps that enable the specific skills. We also have Conecta, which is focused on other kind of community and skills. And we have our specific community that has, I think it's 6,000 active people working together to see how they can support each other's learning paths and entrepreneurial paths. But yeah, I think 3 people is the core, and then we have oscillating maybe 5 more people that come and go eventually. But yeah, it's a really small team. Okay, good to know, just to give the audience an idea of that. And Hela, can I also ask you to talk us through your older center? How did you talk us through the process, I mean, of setting up the center? What's needed and the evolution?
Actually, the center started off in 2010 as a program. It was an entrepreneurship and innovation program. And that time, entrepreneurship was not a widely used term in the Egyptian market. It was very new terminology in like new market. The School of Business initiated what was called an entrepreneurship and innovation program at that time to provide like capacity awareness raising about entrepreneurship and why entrepreneurship is important to the economy. And it kept on doing that activities till 2013. And at that time, the dean of the school realized that it would be a great idea if we established a university-based accelerator to serve startups, not from the student body, but from the community. And in 2013, the School of Business established a university-based accelerator that has been running now for the past 10 years. And in 2015, the program became a full-fledged center. So we evolved from 2010 as being a program, was doing like different activities. Till 2015, it was a full-fledged center with its own mandate. From 2015 till 2019, the center had some change in management. People like was coming and going. There was no like main direction of what the role of the center should be. However, it was really active. And when I joined, because they want to build a new strategy for the center, an outlook for the next 20 years, because when I joined in early 2020, the center was established for 10 years, but they want like this fresh and new look into the market. So when I joined, actually, there was only one team member and myself. And at that time, the center wasn't doing lots of activity, and we have to figure out what the center should be doing. We did the research to come up with this 4 main directions that I talked about to be the focus of the center. And it was very challenging to raise funds, of course, for the center, because the center is a research center by mandate. So we have very small budget from the university each year. So it was on our role to raise funds and bring in donors programs or sponsors to our activity. And we embarked on that journey by identifying what we need, raising funds, and be very targeted on who are our international donors, our multinational sponsors and corporates in the different activities. And now we are 13 in total, 13 team members. Of course, each team is working on one of the directions that I spoke about. So it's very important to take it like very, very small steps, one at a time, but you have to be really focused and see what's really needed in the market, and you capitalize on this and you grow. And after a certain time, it's very hard at the beginning, but after a certain time, you are known in the market. Mm-hmm. Donors and other organizations, they come reach out for different activities.
All right. Yes, I'm hearing this recurring pattern. It's you started small and then evolved and realized what was needed and the need for your center in the market, and then moved on from there. Hey, that's great to hear. And there's one other topic that I'd like to bring up here, and that's managing or creating measurements of success, which is important for an entrepreneurship center or anything for that matter. So Smaira, could you tell us what your key performance indicators are? How do you determine whether what you're doing is working or not?
So this is one of the things that is probably the most difficult in terms of managing the center, is to really agree on a set of impactful KPIs. So I think we do what many people do, is we measure our participation, the number of people. So how many hundreds of people actually go through our programs, attend our programs. And so that's a baseline, and we are happy with that. We also measure by the fact that many of the things that we do are counted very heavily in our rankings. So how many mentorship hours, how much money we give away in awards, workshops and things like that we do, that significantly contribute to our #1 ranking in entrepreneurship globally. So that you have the basics of participation, you have the rankings of the college and university that we contribute to, and then the individual programs, we actually look at something called our NPS score, which is our net promoter score, which many people are using to look at businesses and customer satisfaction. So since we are a business school and we look at new venture creation, a lot of the tools that we use are very focused on what you would use in a business to see if your customers are happy. And our NPS scores are ranking now around 95, which is outstanding. It's an outstanding score. We are also in the process, it's not completed yet, of doing a longitudinal study looking the past 15 years at our summer venture programs to see how much money they have raised, how many jobs they've created. And so that will be a continued KPI that we will use to say, okay, over the years, this is what we've done. So we're trying to look at impact as well as actual participation as an overall measurement of our success.
Okay, that sounds like very comprehensive. So you look at, not just the participation, but also the impact of what's happening. And I think you were also looking at something even more innovative than that on the behavior.
Well, the research that you want me to talk a little bit more about the research, the entrepreneurial leadership, the research?
Yes, because that's like even like a step beyond even looking at how which businesses are in action still.
Okay, so sorry, I want to make sure I'm answering the right question. So we're doing research right now on entrepreneurial leadership, and we have our faculty is really looking at the behaviors that our students are beginning with, and how our programs actually impact them, and how at the end that entrepreneurial leadership, what we know is needed, actually is enhanced. Some of that's in self-efficacy, etc. So we do that. And then the survey that I was referring to, which is how much money have they raised, how many jobs, etc. That's an ongoing project that we're working on, 15 years of data right now. To go back to all of our summer venture programs to see where they are today. How many are still in business? How many jobs have they created? How much money have they raised, etc. So see the impact of that.
Right. Yes. No, that's thank you for clarifying. That's it. Yeah. So you're doing the normal one of where you look at how many businesses are still in business, how much money, but also looking at this research of what kind of behaviors they're actually developing. That's very progressive. Okay, now at this point, I'm going to stop my questions, even though I had maybe a couple more, because I can see we've got questions from the audience. They are they're impatient to engage. So let me start off. So there's just one question here from Christiana about getting a list of participants to connect with. We won't be able to share that for privacy reasons, but you do have in the invites and in the thank you email the LinkedIn connections to our speakers, and obviously you can get in touch with us through our website. Now, first question here, I'm struggling to construct a good business plan. What main content should I focus on when writing a business plan? Maybe, Smira, I'll come to you with that one.
So that's a great question for me, because we actually at Babson have done away with business plans for the very reason that people find it very hard to start until they have this perfectly formulated business plan. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a plan at all. What I'm saying is what we really believe is something called entrepreneurial thought and action, ETNA. And we really encourage people to take very small steps. So what do you have at hand? What resources do you have that you can immediately use? What network can you connect with that you can draw upon? And what small steps can you take? Now, you have to do this just to start. And of course, you have to have a business plan at some point, because you'll have investors and you'll have a very formalized deck. But it sounds like the question is coming from, I'm trying to have a fully flushed, fully beautiful business plan before I actually start anything. And what we say is, look more at the action rather than the actual plan itself. And then you'll be able to course correct till you come to a place where you're like, okay, this is really what I'm doing. Now I can document a little bit more. I can put my financials in place. I can do, because I actually have data. Without data, it's really just coming from your mind down to the piece of paper, and it can change at any time.
Right, right. Thank you for that, Smaira. Yeah, and I think that's really in line with what you were saying earlier. In addition to Hela and Daniela, start first, right, and then figure out, and then come back to the business plan. Thank you, Smaira. I think that was really good. A tip for you there, Christiana. Now, there's another two questions with the same, two questions, same question, and I'll come to Hela on this. And this is on financial sustainability. So we have one from Solomon, and how do you draw resources for the center? And from Christiana, how do these centers are these centers self-sustainable, meaning do you depend on income generation and for paying the staff?
So for us at the center, as I said, the center is a research center, meaning that we have a very, very tiny annual budget that we receive from the university, which covers only 2 staff members, okay, and maybe cover 1 activity per year. So in order to be financially self-sustainable, we have to raise funds through donors activities that we implement. So for example, we are currently implementing a number of USAID funded projects, global affairs funded projects, projects that they are out for call for proposal, and it aligns with our direction. One of the program is raising the capacity of women entrepreneurs in Egypt, and submit the technical and financial proposals to implement such developing projects. And if we are awarded, this includes not only the cost of the activities, but also the cost of hiring staff on this grant in order to run the operations of this program. So that's the model that we operate on. Of course, it's very hectic because we have always to be on the go looking for funds and raising funds, because we don't want to see like people come and go for different programs. Usually these programs are long programs. They are 3 or 4 years long program, but we try as much as we can to plan ahead so we are not losing the team that is working with us in the center. So if a fund is done and delivered, we try to seek another program to keep on moving.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for that, Hela. And I'll come to you, Danielle, on this one. And that's, how do these centers help young people that have a bankable business idea to connect to the possible markets? Because I would imagine in your case, also being online, you may have, obviously, this is the whole idea behind an entrepreneurship center, but you'd have some challenges there. So how are you connecting them to possible markets?
So just to be clear, did it say young people?
Oh, yes, yes. And you can clarify that one, because you said you don't only work with young people.
Yeah, I think it seems, I think that it's a really interesting question. So the cool thing that you have with young people is that they might see markets that you are completely unaware. And that's why one of the main things that one of the main practices that we have in the Entrepreneurial Hub is listen to what they are seeing, what they need, because you don't want to impose ideas or practices that they might not work for what they are envisioning. So in that case, so if you have young people wanting to go, or if you have any age people that want to go for a specific, because you can have older, more experienced people wanting to go into a new market that they are not experienced with. So look in the community. There are people in the community already working in that market, or that have connections or experience within that market, and try to connect people that are or have experience with that market. If they have failed in that market, I think that they have like super valuable experience, because they will know the things that you will have to look for, and the things that you will have to improve to be successful in that market. And the other thing would be trying to see if there's a closer market that will give them enough experience to eventually pivot to that market, as in a tasting phase, if it's a long shot. But I will say that the main thing would be try to see and find within the community that you have mentors or people that have worked there or people that are experiencing that market, any experience that they have, so you can trace a road to get to that point.
Okay, thank you for that, Daniela. And then this coming question, I think I'm going to come to you, Smira, since you mentioned policy. Nidali, coming from Zambia, says his national policy is premised on entrepreneurs, and what model can be adopted to enhance entrepreneurship at business school country to support this national policy?
Can you just repeat the first part? It just broke up a little bit, the very first part of the question.
Sure. Coming from a country like Zambia, whose national policy is premised on entrepreneurship, what model can be adopted to enhance entrepreneurship at the business school in support of this national policy?
So I think, what we do at the Butler Institute, which is where we really look at our policy specifically, is we challenge our students to understand how to engage with local level, state level, government, the national level, and how to advocate for policies that will promote entrepreneurship. So removing barriers. We learned a lot during COVID in terms of what the government did or didn't do. And so I think it opened a lot of students' eyes. The government seemed to be, especially in the US, almost invisible, right? Because we have a free market, we are capitalists. And so it kind of seemed invisible. And I think for the first time in many people's lives, the impact of government policy was very, very clear. And so it's for us just a learning opportunity to say, you can't just sit back and wait for the government to make decisions. You have to engage, you have to advocate, you have to go and talk, and you have to understand the mechanisms and be part of the conversation if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you want those barriers to be removed. So if in Zambia, it's already something that is very pro-entrepreneurship, then I think inviting people who understand that into the center to explain the policy so that the students really understand. They understand how to access capital through government money, maybe. They understand when government policies are coming up for a vote so that they can come in and teach them that. I think that's the question, is how to bring that into the center. And it's just pure exposure. That would be the bottom line, is exposure to the process so they understand how to engage.
Right, exposing your students to the process, and so they can engage government. Yeah, okay, yes. That sounds like one of the best ideas to actually influence policy. Get the people that are benefiting or affected by it to engage. Okay, thank you for that, Sonia. I hope we've answered your question, Doc. Exactly, and that comes back to exactly what Samira was saying earlier, right? This is the philosophy, and Daniela. So thank you for that. Unfortunately, I have to wrap it up because we've actually gone over time, even though there are more questions. So all the questions show how engaging the speakers were. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, speakers, Smira, Hela, and Daniela, for taking the time to share your knowledge and experience. This has been really, really exciting to share. I hope everyone's got ideas to move forward on creating or better managing your entrepreneurship centers. If you have any questions about the IFC Vitae program, on how we might be able to help your institution on employability outcomes, please don't hesitate to contact us through the website, which